Welcome back, everyone, to Season 3, Episode 17 of the Inside the Woods podcast, a Valley News show where every week we've been giving you an inside look at Dartmouth Big Green athletics, and this time around, we're taking a look at men's basketball. I'm your host, Mike Coughlin.
But it is Dartmouth who comes to Ithaca and handles business. 102-91, the Big Green take down the Big Red. Dartmouth is 2-0 in Ivy League play.
That's how it sounded on the ESPN Plus broadcast as the Big Green picked up their third straight win, 102-91 over Ivy League foe Cornell in Ithaca, New York on Saturday. Jaden Williams was Dartmouth's leading scorer in the win with 24 points. Connor Amundsen, the reigning co-Ivy League Player of the Week, had a solid performance with a 23-point, 10-assist double-double. Brandon Mitchell-Day had a double-double of his own with 17 points and 10 rebounds. The win over the Big Red was the Big Green's second win in conference play. Last week, Dartmouth opened Ivy League play on the road against Harvard and came away with a 76-68 win, which was its first road Ivy League opener victory since the 1998-1999 season. Now at 8-7 overall and 2-0 in the Ivy League, the Big Green will shift their focus to battles with Penn on Saturday at 3 p.m. and Princeton on Monday at 6 p.m., both of which are at home. On the show this week, I have the Big Green's leading scorer, sophomore guard Kareem Thomas, on the show to talk about his offensive rise and the team going forward. I also have men's basketball head coach David McLaughlin on the show to get his thoughts on the team's recent win streak. Now, with introductions out of the way, let's get to the rest of the show. Now joining me on the show is sophomore guard Kareem Thomas. Kareem is the leading scorer for the Big Green, averaging 18.5 points per game. Hi, Kareem. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you for having me.
So as a freshman, you appeared in 14 games and played just 60 minutes. Now, through the 14 games you've appeared in this season, you're third in the Ivy in points per game and tied for first in three-point field goal percentage. Could you tell our audience a little bit about the work you've put in this past offseason to now have this sort of offensive output for your team?
Yes, of course. This offseason was a big one for me. Coach Mack made it very obvious the opportunity that I had coming into my sophomore year and the role that was available for me. Obviously, it wasn't to be given to me by any means, but he definitely made it very clear the opportunity that I had coming back. So once I told my trainer that and me and him established the role that I was going to be fighting for, we just attacked the summer really hard in the weight room, on the basketball court, and mentally as well. Freshman year, it's always a struggle for freshmen, but for me especially, I had a little bit of a different thought of what my freshman year was going to look like. And when it wasn't that, confidence drops a little bit. You kind of start to second-guess yourself and your talent. So mentally, coming in my sophomore year, that was one of the biggest jumps that I would like to say that I made. And it definitely helped the physical jumps that I also made during that offseason.
Right. The team has started the conference play portion of the schedule at 2-0. What are some of the things you all are continuing to work on and focus on to try and continue this recent success?
Yeah, so coming into Ivy play, we were, I think we were averaging around 14 turnovers a game. And as a team, we all knew that was way too high. Our goal is always 11 or below. And both games against Harvard and Cornell, we were able to achieve that goal less than 11. I believe Cornell, we might have had around like 5 or 6. So that's just been the biggest thing that we've been hammering home every day during practices, valuing the ball, and kind of like not shoot ourselves in the foot with turnovers.
Right, and, the program is coming off its first Ivy Madness tournament appearance in program history last season. With that in mind, and like I mentioned, the strong start in conference play so far, what do you think this team is capable of going forward?
I think we're capable of winning it all. You're supposed to go into that mindset every single year, but there's been a couple of dry spells for Dartmouth as a program. But the last 2 years, there's been this newfound confidence, not only within like the guys and the coaches, which is always going to be there, but our fans and everybody around the team, and even people at school. Like everybody's cheering us on, telling us that we have a chance to do it, and we all know that we do, and now we just have to execute. So that newfound confidence that I would say that's around the program, not just within the program, is what's really going to push us over the top.
Right, and finally, in your bio on the Dartmouth Athletics website, you're quoted as saying that growing up, you didn't think you'd have an offer to attend an Ivy League institution, let alone play Division I basketball at one. Now, amidst your second season, what has this experience of not only attending but playing basketball at an Ivy League institution been like?
I'm just super blessed. Growing up, basketball wasn't even my first sport, so playing Division I basketball wasn't even in my thought process when I was really young. But once I started to play basketball, I was always very aware of the reality of the percentages of playing Division I basketball and the percentages of getting into an Ivy League institution. So I was always a really realistic kid, but I always had really big dreams as well. So just being here and being able to perform at the level that I have been has just been a blessing, and I'm very grateful and thankful for my God-given abilities and the people that helped me all along the way.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, Kareem. I really appreciate it, and I wish you and the rest of the team luck with your upcoming games.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Before we get to our conversation with Dave, let's go inside the numbers on the Big Green's next matchups with Penn and Princeton. The Big Green enters these contests with the fourth-ranked offense in the Ivy League, averaging just under 80 points per game, and sixth in the conference in defense, allowing an average of about 74 points per game. As for how that stacks up with their upcoming opponents, Penn is fifth in offense, averaging about 78 points per game, while Princeton is dead last, averaging under 70 points per contest. On the defensive end, Princeton improves, allowing just under 72 points per game, which is good for fourth in the Ivy League. Penn is ranked seventh, allowing about 76 points per game. An X factor for these games could definitely be turnovers, as the Big Green averages 13 per game, which is second to last in the Ivy League. In recent memory, the Big Green haven't fared that well against either opponent. Dartmouth has just one win over Penn in their last 5 matchups, which came at home last season, and only 2 over Princeton in their last 5 matchups, one of which was last season on the road, and the other during the 2022-2023 season at home. With all that said, let's get to our final interview of the show with Dave and get his take. Joining me on the show is Big Green men's basketball coach Dave McLaughlin, whose team has been on fire as of late, picking up 3 consecutive wins, 2 of which were over Ivy League opponents in Harvard and Cornell. Hi, Dave. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks. I appreciate you having me on again.
You know, as I said, the team is on a nice winning streak with victories over 2 conference opponents and Elms College. You know, what have you seen from your squad that you've liked over this stretch, and how important was it for the team to start conference play strong this season?
Yeah, I think anytime you can start conference play with a couple of wins, it's a good sign, especially on the road. You know, and again, in 2 different styles of play, winning games in 2 different ways. You know, I think especially what I said to the guys after the Cornell game, you know, we are really playing towards our identity. You just wanting to be a player-led group, wanting to be a tougher and more together group at both ends, and really paying attention to the execution piece, our decision-making, the details, the little things, and our discipline on both sides of the ball. And I think winning 2 games on the road shows that you're trying to live up to that identity.
Right, and you referenced it a little bit. In the last 2 games against Harvard and Cornell, it feels like the team has shown its ability to win in multiple ways. The Harvard win was a low-scoring affair at 76-68 compared to the 102-91 win over Cornell. You know, how much confidence does it give you that your team has shown that it can win in high-scoring games and, you know, more defensive battles?
Yeah, it's just that's the way basketball is, right? It's not always going to be the same game. You're not always going to have the same personnel. You're not always going to be at home on the road. There's going to be adversity. So it's that next man up mentality, the ability to understand who we are, like I said, on both sides of the ball, because that's what's going to carry you through those varying games. So proud of the guys for that. You know, what I still really enjoy about this group is a lot of room to grow for us, both individually and collectively. And you know, we have to keep trusting in that, how every rep is important in practice, and our competitive nature in practice, how important that is to get us better as a group.
Right, and, you know, additionally, in the recent wins, you've had contributions offensively from multiple players. In the win over Harvard, you had 4 players score in double figures, and then against Cornell, it was 5. You know, how important is it to you for multiple players to get involved like that on the offensive end? And, how helpful is it, to the offense as a whole when that's able to happen, successfully?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important to have depth, and just as important, one thing I told the guys after, we had guys, especially at Cornell, guys like Cam Hyatt and Cam McNamee, they combined for 56 minutes almost, and they combined for 2 points. And then you have Brandon Mitchell-Day and Jaden Williams, who played 57 minutes, and they combined for 41 points. So they played roughly the same, those four guys. You put them in groups of two. But Cam Hyatt and Cam McNamee's minutes were just as important. How they impacted the game was just as impactful. So it's more important than just, hey, you scored here, you scored here. It's who can impact the game every possession on either end and do it consistently. And if we can have multiple guys doing that, whether they're scoring or not, that's going to help us reach our goals.
Right, and, before we look ahead, I'd like to turn the clock back a bit. Just before the new year, you guys took on the defending national champion Florida Gators, now ranked number 19th in the nation, in Gainesville, and fell 94-72. I just wanted to ask if you could tell our audience a bit maybe about how this game came to be, because, maybe some who look at the schedule, maybe never expected to see the Florida Gators on there for you guys. And on top of that, just your thoughts on what the experience of going up against that caliber of opponent on their home floor was like.
Yeah, sold out crowd, great atmosphere. I thought that was, terrific for our guys, our ability to fly in there after break and be able to get back from break, have a couple days to prep. And, one, playing in that environment is terrific. Two, I thought we didn't come out with the edge I think we wanted to. I think they came out very aggressive and jumped on us a little bit, and took us a little bit of time to get our bearings back. We had a very successful second half against them, but I would have preferred that we were a little more competitive in that first half. But that being said, it's a great way to, after a break, after the holiday, to come back, be together, and to compete against an incredibly talented team, which will go very far in the NCAA tournament this year.
Right, and finally, up next for your team is a battle with Penn at home on Saturday, and then hosting Princeton on Monday. What have you seen from these two teams in your review of them, and what is the squad focusing on to come away with some wins?
Yeah, I think the focus is us having competitive days in practice. We've had a good couple days in practice. It was about us at the beginning of the week, and as we, go further in the week, we'll look more at our opponents and really talk about what we want to do to be successful, or try to be successful on both sides of the ball. But it really started with competitive practices, which I thought we've had the first few days this week, and those competitive practices set the foundation as we do prep heading into Saturday.
All right, well, thanks very much for joining the show, Coach. I really appreciate it, and I wish you luck going forward.
I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully we have a lot of Upper Valley folk here on Saturday supporting us and Monday supporting us. So thank you.
That was Season 3, Episode 17 of the Inside the Woods podcast. As always, thanks for listening. We'll be back again next week to talk some more Big Green athletics. Till then, enjoy the rest of your week.